thank you to the Des Moines Business Record for inviting me to be a part of this conversation today, and thank you for hosting it. I'm very honored to have the opportunity to serve the state of Iowa alongside Governor Kim Reynolds, and that's been especially true during this very unique and challenging time as we face this pandemic. The idea I wanted to share with you today is around the concept of broadband connectivity. When we were forced to be apart, connectivity became more important than ever. And I think we really came to realize that on a number of different fronts, because connectivity could mean many different things. It could mean interpersonally, and how we've recognized that for mental health and well-being purposes, how important it is to have relationships and maintain those relationships. And that's part of the reason why I'm so glad that we're able to maintain a power breakfast like this, even in a virtual environment, because it does give us that opportunity to have those interactions. But this morning, I want to talk about it literally from a broadband connectivity perspective. Broadband connectivity has been a priority of Governor Reynolds for some time now, and she's had me working on this issue from a rural broadband connectivity perspective for a few years now. And we've talked about connectivity from a variety of perspectives. Of course, you've got the quality of life aspects of it, where you want to be able to, while you're sitting at home, be able to stream Netflix, or your kids want to be playing Fortnite with their friends. But it goes far beyond those quality of life uses of connectivity. From a business perspective, connectivity is really important to be able to use automation to its fullest extent. You think about self-driving vehicles, or how we continue to transition to an Internet of Things where machinery and appliances and other things like that are connected at all times. You think about it from an education perspective in terms of our assessments moving online and the other tools that are available if connectivity is available to our students. We thought about it from the standpoint of agriculture and being able to fully leverage precision agriculture technology and data collection and analysis to make us even more smart in how we conduct the business of agriculture. And connectivity leading into this has been a major topic of conversation at the Iowa Capitol. Governor Reynolds, in her last budget, had asked for $20 million to support broadband grants focused in areas that have low connectivity or no connectivity. We received $5 million from the legislature last year to support that grant program. And we were in the midst of working on getting the other $15 million appropriated when the pandemic came and disrupted the legislative session. And we were feeling pretty confident about the prospect. And while the pandemic may have disrupted the legislative momentum, and now, certainly budgets are uncertain going forward, it's hard to think of a more clear and apparent proof of concept of the urgent need for connectivity all across our state. All those same arguments that I talked about existed before, but think of what else has been proven this time. Let's start first with telehealth. I know that we're going to have a speaker who's going to dive deep into that, but just very briefly, this became a necessity due to the nature of the virus. Telehealth was a way that we could provide care while limiting exposure for our healthcare workers who we needed to keep healthy. And Governor Reynolds, using her emergency powers, was able to remove many barriers that existed to telehealth, including prohibitions on it, some preconditions, and even provided payment parity for telehealth visits. It's also important from a mental health perspective. I read a report not too long ago that showed that more people were using telehealth for mental health services during the pandemic, and that's encouraging. But what if we didn't have the connectivity to pull it off? And that's certainly true in some parts of our state. What about from an education perspective? With schools closed, schools had to transition to distance learning opportunities. My kids happen to go to Des Moines Christian, and they stood up a very high quality online learning program in a very short period of time. And I've been so encouraged by how my kids have been able to navigate that daily. And there are days when I work from home in order to help, but primarily my wife, Carrie, who's in commercial lending at Wells Fargo, has been working from home while at the same time helping them navigate the online process. But what if you didn't have that type of connectivity? What if that just simply wasn't available to you? That'd be a real challenge. And what about from a telework perspective? It's really amazing how quickly we transitioned to working from home and the accommodations that takes. I'm sure the business community largely has had that capability for a long time, but certainly the number of folks doing it on a daily basis is new, certainly a new phenomenon from that perspective. From the state's perspective, we had state agencies that basically had policies that prohibited telework. And they were able to stand up telework platforms really in a matter of days, which is remarkable because normally in state government, if we had planned that and budgeted for it and went through the various processes, it probably would have taken us 2 fiscal years to get it done. But when the pandemic came, it became a real necessity. And I want to give credit to the leaders within our state agencies who were able to pull that off in a very short period of time. So with that, I just, again, want to emphasize the fact that when we were forced to be apart, connectivity became even more important than it ever has been. And I think that will change the conversation around broadband connectivity policies going forward. So with that, thanks again for having me on today. I really appreciate the fact that the Des Moines Business Record is hosting this conversation. I'm very honored to be a part of it.